Hello, and welcome to The Assembly Line, an NES homebrew podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin from K-Han Games.
I'm Beau from Soul Goose Productions.
And we're here to talk about homebrews. How do you feel about homebrews, Beau?
I feel pretty good about homebrews, Kevin. How about you?
I like them. I like to play them. Like to see them being made. Like to see how the community is sort of taking shape over all these years. It's fun.
Well, that's one of the interesting things about homebrews is that it is a very community effort. What we support and, with words, with activity, with financial things at times, that is what we kind of end up seeing in the community. Like that's what gets produced, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it has been interesting kind of seeing how it's transpired, like how things have transpired over the years. Because when homebrew as a scene was sort of first starting to take shape as far as like using aftermarket parts, like still at that point there were only like one or two projects coming out a year maybe, and now it seems like there's one every other week, which is both exciting and a little confusing.
Yeah, a little bit. So with it being driven largely by the community, what sort of different attitudes have you seen from supporters that over the years, what do different people tend to want to see come out of what we do?
Well, I think this can probably be broken up into a few categories. First off, you have the people that are kind of just wanting to buy and support everything. And for a long time, it was easy to do that because with fewer projects coming out and just sort of wanting to encourage, the growth of the scene, you would want to sort of, shell out some money just to show people that you appreciate what they're doing and that kind of thing. So that's the first one that kind of comes to mind for me.
Yeah, that's a pretty, basic support everything attitude. I've been in that category myself at times. What else have you seen?
So I think another one is the people that kind of, they see the love of the person, who's putting sort of, they're making their dreams come true by making a game that either they've wanted to make since childhood or just they're doing it for the love of it, and people want to sort of give them, financial support to encourage them to sort of continue pursuing their dreams.
Yeah, most people don't just sit down one day and are like, I've never played the NES, I have no attachment to it. I think I'm just going to make some games for it, and we'll see where that goes. Most people are living out some sort of either childhood, adult, personal dream in some way, which is, it's interesting to see because you can actually ask them, why are you doing this? Why are you waking up or staying up late and devoting hundreds or thousands of hours into this, what amounts to sometimes being a rather small project in the greater scheme of things, because you've got to learn from scratch what to do. And so to be able to support that, you can actually see what your support is doing, encouraging people on, offering to test, giving feedback, purchasing the game when it comes out. Like it has a real impact on their dream on the reception side.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I know that I've been sort of, in these answers, been focusing on financial support, but even, like you said to start, like even something as small as like writing encouraging words or offering to help with ideas or testing, that sort of encouragement certainly goes a long way.
Well, if you look at some of the early projects, things like Sudoku or Civac's early stuff, those threads have hundreds or thousands of views and so much more level of activity than we sometimes see these days, when a lot of us, we're developing stuff but not really talking about it, or just, there's just so many that the community is a lot bigger than it once was. And so back in the day, like the sheer fact that something was new was enough. And now sometimes, I don't know if people just don't get involved as much, or it just depends on the project or what.
I think that's an interesting thing that we might want to talk about in the future, because like you said, like back in the day there were fewer people but more activity in each game development threads, and nowadays it seems like when someone goes into the brewery and they post, I have this new game coming out, you're lucky if you get 10 replies. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, you still get a lot of views though, and I don't know about you, but I tend to get a lot of private emails or messages with some nice stuff to say, or just good feedback, or sometimes not so nice things to say, but that's all right. I don't mind.
So I've given 2 examples. Do you have any examples of different categories?
A different one that's arisen, in the time between the earliest little puzzle type game projects and whatnot, has been the category of people that really want to see licensed quality games, things that are on par with, the best of the licensed catalog.
Right.
And those are the projects that they tend to support with, words, money, and encouragement.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot more of that these days. And these are games that you definitely, I don't think, would have seen a decade ago. You have people sort of finding their groove and sort of mastering their craft. And I think as more people come into the scene that see the sort of groundwork that's been laid, they see that it's possible to sort of pursue this dream of making this really, really quality game. And I think that people are definitely quick to support those these days.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, some people still want it to be this small thing where people are just living their dreams. Other people still just want to see anything and everything. But there are an increasing number of people that there's a standard, and they hold things up to that.
Yeah, so you're saying that people are waiting for these projects to come out and only sort of showing support to these higher quality games?
I don't know if that's it. I mean, I think they're still interested in the community. They're still aware of what else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they kind of reserve their dollars and their testing time for these larger projects. Which, that if that's what you want to see come out of the community, then that's the attitude to take. Because what we put in is what we're going to get out. So if you are supporting people living their dreams, and I like that category a lot, because I tend to, at different times, I've been sort of in all three, where I've bought anything and everything. I've offered to test whatever, and there's I've also done that for a good share of licensed quality projects. But the living the dream one I like, because you take somebody, and if somebody's new, it doesn't matter to me anyways. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Like, it's fascinating. They're learning. They're going through all the hoops and hurdles, and they have something inside that they want to get out. And I love supporting those first projects.
And it's been interesting seeing the new people come into the scene and see, sort of where they're coming from in life, and seeing the direction that they take their various first projects. Some people are just starting out with, a little tech demo or some like small single screen game, but then others are just launching straight into an elaborate sort of dream project that turns out to be, of licensed quality. So it's really fascinating to me, just watching the different people that are coming in and where they're going.
I find them to be very admirable, big or small. Just very interesting to see.
So are you saying, given these three categories, are you saying that you're somewhere in between wanting to see people live their dreams and support that, and, wanting to support the licensed quality?
And anything and everything. Sometimes I like to, support anything and everything, but I think these days I'm probably more between the, a first effort I love to support. I just want to see whatever they have to do, but I'm also really enjoying seeing the license stuff. And, if that's what I want to see, then I actually think my dollars lately have reflected that. I've become, a little pickier with what I end up throwing money at.
Right. And I know you've said this a couple times now, but it bears sort of touching on again. What you support is sort of what you wind up seeing in the community, coming out.
Yeah, it's like the last thing we need, I think, is another Kahan game, right?
Well, hold on to that thought, because there's something in the pipeline.
Well, the nice thing about what we do is that, all these are real people. Very few of these people are just, businesses in this to make money.
Yeah.
So you get to know the people that you're supporting, get to know what their projects are, and take a real interest, not just financially, but in terms of time and support and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that there was a time a couple years ago where the scene was really in a sort of a transitional period where people were sort of coming in, seeing that there was money to be made and trying to crank things out. But I think things have settled down to where the current sort of state of things is everyone's here doing it for the right reasons, and everyone is it seems like the community is very closely tight-knit right now. Everyone is just wanting to support everyone else in any way they can. But honestly, in the grand scheme of things, none of what we're saying is going to make a difference, because the homebrew bubble is bursting.
Oh, I have heard that it's on its way out.
Doom and gloom, man.
And in speaking about the homebrew bubble, one at some point has to reckon with the man who really strove to jack the prices up. This would be the great Kevin Hanley, of course, and we are gonna take him off air for a little bit so I can say these hurtful, shameful things. Tim from Retrotainment Games is gonna come on, and we are gonna cover one of Kevin's games. We did one of mine a few back, and Tim from Orab, different Tim, from Orab Games came on. He interviewed me, and now we're going to have Tim from Retrotainment.
Hey guys, how's it going out there? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for volunteering. We both took the time to sort of look at the incident, which was Kevin's 13th, 14th game?
It's up there.
It's up there, at least. And so, yeah, what is the incident, Tim?
Well, I feel it's one of the best homebrew games that has ever been made, for sure. It's actually my go-to game when I'm either at small shows or big conventions. When people ask me, what other games in the scene should I play? I immediately go to this one. I think it embodies what a homebrew should be, and the depth that he put into this, it shows in the gameplay. The music is super rad, and the overall vibe of the game is it's unrivaled in my opinion.
But what is it?
It's a puzzle game.
Oh, a puzzle game. Well,
yeah.
Do describe.
Well, it's a block-pushing puzzle game that will tear your soul out.
Oh, soul?
It is it is excruciating at times. It is joyous at times, and sometimes you're just staring at the screen trying to figure out these maniacal puzzles that have been created. But it's an absolute blast.
So you're running, you're jumping, you're shooting things in these quests to solve puzzles?
No, definitely not. You're a robot, one of 3 different robots, depending on where you are in the game, and you're pushing blocks around into these safe zones so that you can continue on to the next level, which, as we know, there's over 100 levels in this game. And I don't feel like I'm describing it correctly, which is what I feel at the conventions. When I tell people, you have to play this game, and they're like, what is it? I say it's a puzzle game, and then they want more, and it's somewhat hard to describe because if you haven't committed time to the game, it's hard in a few sentences just to tell what exactly it is. Would you agree with that?
No, it's a Sokoban clone. It's easy.
It's
nothing new here.
See, that's that's terrible.
No, it's a block pushing puzzler. You got a few blocks around the screen. You're limited in your moves. If you push them against a wall, you can't get them out. And so you have to solve the puzzle, without making any mistakes. And you got to get your blocks into their homes, I think was the language that Mr. Hanley used at one point.
Right, and if you get stuck, you'll use the button you'll use mostly, which is the suicide select button.
Suicide button.
So yeah, if you get stuck, that's what you have to do in order to start that level over. And it's challenging.
Yeah, even without lives or continues or any of that, it's an endless life game. But you still sit there sometimes for 10, 20, 30 minutes staring at the puzzle before you even make your first move. Sometimes. Not
right.
always.
Well, it's a rare game where you spend a lot more time thinking and planning rather than actually moving.
This is very true.
On the screen.
Oh, yeah. So Kevin, in his classic style, didn't just stick with the normal gameplay elements. He created a whole narrative, and sort of the narrative behind this block-pushing puzzler is, we appreciate your interest in cyclone engineering. When I started the company back in 1974, I saw a future in which humans and robots could coexist, with the robots taking over the manual labor jobs that we as humans have had to endure for so long. Keeping our own warehouses organized proved to be a truly dreadful task in itself, so I wanted our first project to be a robot that could keep all of our boxes organized. It took a long time, and God knows we went through a lot of prototypes. But ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to say that today, on this very day, you are going to finally see the fruits of our labor. Imagine a world where mankind no longer has to deal with the manual labor of pushing boxes. That dream is fiction no more. May I introduce model KSS 084, or as we like to call him, Sam. Dr. Christopher Davies, TED Talks Conference, December 19th, 2015. And yet we are left with this haunting future where there are no humans, just robots in a warehouse. And we are left to question, what is the incident that took place? But beyond those heavy things, we got a great game here with some block pushing, some puzzling.
And the vibe that he's got,
what you
just read, it probably captivated our audience. Absolutely.
I do have the voice for it.
You have the voice for radio. Actually, you have a face for radio.
There it is.
But the vibe of the game it's haunting. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's the kind of game you want to play late at night and just power through it.
Oh, yes.
Uninterrupted, without the cell phone going off or, people annoying you and talking to you. You just want to immerse yourself in the game in the dark and play it. It's spectacular.
It's a very dark game to begin with. A lot of heavy black saturation with the graphics and whatnot.
True.
But
True.
It definitely lends itself to, I don't know, the music. It's a whole atmosphere.
Yes, he's created one hell of an atmosphere.
So what's the level progression like?
Well, some people will say level 1 is extremely hard, or one of the harder levels in the early levels.
I hate level 1.
Which it's a little tough. You just gotta commit, and you gotta think like you're Sam. You gotta be Sam.
You're a method player, aren't
right.
you?
Right. As you progress, you earn solution points with every third level.
What's a solution point?
A solution point is something that you gain, and then you use them in order to purchase solutions for screens or levels that you're stuck on.
Yeah, so Sam will actually then solve the puzzle while you watch it. He'll
Right.
push all the blocks and do his thing, and that is your solution. And then you get to go on to the next.
Right, it's like a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You don't see a lot of games, especially puzzle games. They really make you work for every last thing. But Kevin built a little bit of niceness into it. Of course, you can challenge yourself. I never use solutions, but
Oh, really?
oh, who would use solutions?
You're crazy. Well, never mind.
Oh, that was a shame-inducing comment.
I know. Well, here's what I'm going to say, though. You have to be careful with the solutions that you do purchase, because you're going to need them later in the game. Around 68, 69, it gets really tough.
I've heard some people talk about, I think, level 84 as being by far the
68
hardest.
was my nemesis, the eel.
Oh,
Badass
eel.
level.
Okay.
Yes.
You also start early in the game. You're just pushing 2 blocks into their homes, and then as the game goes, there's more and more blocks to try to coordinate. You have to coordinate between all of them.
Right. The complexity goes way up when you're involving more variables like that.
Yeah, if you push one in, it blocks the others from getting in, or locks you in. But there's also, along with the narrative, you encounter different robots throughout the story. You have Sam and Claire and Kate, and there's also different narrative portions between things where you'll get the first one opens up with parts of that Dr. Christopher Davies thing that I read earlier, but then you get other snippets to sort of piece together this narrative that is very well done.
Right. It takes a puzzle game and it just puts, I wouldn't say a twist on it, but it adds so much more to the lore of the game, because the game is a puzzle game, but it has that story and that mystery within it. It's pretty cool.
It's so much more, for lack of a better word, adult than like Lolo, when, little blob thing's girlfriend gets captured and you see it all happen. Like, you actually have to, you get into this one a little more.
Right. To get to really appreciate it, you have to read and understand and follow along.
You do have to read quick, though, because those are timed segments, and they're not based on button presses, and it seems like a beta tester would have caught that. But hey, whatever. I didn't test this project.
I know a couple people that did.
I've heard some people, yeah. So there's the push counter, too, which each time you make a movement, it counts for a push. Like, it keeps track of the movements you've made. And that's both continuous and based off of, even if you suicide, it keeps racking up. And there's also like the per attempt push count. And so you could challenge other people. Scoreboard was never really implemented in this one, or
yeah,
any
I didn't see it on there.
Yeah, any sort of scoring system, but there's definitely room to kind of challenge yourself or challenge your friends. It's sort of neat.
Oh, and level names are always interesting. Very eager to ask Kevin about those, because they're, I don't know.
Hopefully we can get him on to ask him.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Where do the level names come from? And going back to that push counter, I don't think a lot of people worry about it early on, but as you get more time put into the game, you start to realize that has value, like those statistics. I like that he put that in.
Yeah, they're not really highlighted. They're one of those things that you sort of realize as you go through the game. After you're not as focused, you maybe hit one of those levels where it takes you 20 minutes. And you're like, oh, what's this counter up there? And so you start pushing blocks. Like, oh my goodness, that increases the counter? That's no good. I need to quit doing that.
You're going to think more and move less. when you see that for the first time.
Well, and you get your total count between every 10 levels or so between those segments. It'll give you your count total and things like that.
Which I like.
Yeah.
As a stats guy, yeah.
Baseball fan, aren't you?
A little bit.
Baseball stars, was that what we talked about last year when you were on?
Yeah, Greg and I have had some serious battles. I'm a big fan of him putting that level editor in. In fact, I think we have a question or two that we're going to ask him about that, because I'd like to know, is anybody making some levels that are really good and challenging that maybe he wishes was in the game? I think it really puts us in a position of, once you love the game, then you can start creating your own levels and implementing them and sharing them, which is a really cool addition to a standard game like this.
Yeah, you see it sometimes, and it's interesting that the level creator was added after the fact, and it wasn't his own tool to build the game. But it's always interesting. I like the level editors.
Yeah, I like the functionality. It's easy to use.
Oh yeah, it's very easy to use. Of course, there's only a few blocks and stuff like that, but it's the basics, which is all you really need for this game.
Right.
And of course, this was one of the first games that used GT-ROM, the board developed by Memblers, which supported flash saving. So you have those 120 levels, and if you don't finish them all in one sitting, which you probably won't,
right?
You can save your progress, come back to it. Assuming Kevin programs it correctly.
Yeah, it'll save your ass. And really, this game is worth every penny because it's vast. Over 120 levels, like you said, and the ability to save and come back to it when you're stumped is awesome.
Yeah, and I've talked a little bit of trash about Mr. Hanley. So should we let him in, or should we still keep him out?
Yeah, kick the door open. Let's get him in.
All right. Well, we can get him in here. Kevin, you there?
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
There he is.
There it is.
Thought you'd make.
I was having some technical issues.
Oh, that's that weather in Florida, eh?
No, you just gotta click the button.
Oh, okay. I have to plug in the microphone.
Yes, that. So, I guess, welcome aboard. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Can you see me?
No, but it's weird because I've talked to Tim more than I've talked to you lately. So it's
and it's that bad?
It's a shift.
Oh
no, it's different. Yeah,
but we both love baseball stars though, so we have that.
We had a good battle at MagFest.
Oh man, RBI, that's where it's at.
No, get out of here.
Get out of here with your simple.
Okay, well, trash talk aside, I guess first and foremost, where did the idea for the incident come from? What caused you to sort of want to make a block-pushing puzzler, and potentially what games influenced the design and development process?
Well, this goes back to a mobile game, and I don't remember specifically what the name of the game was. But
Angry Birds?
No,
Samsara?
Definitely wasn't Angry Birds. No, there was every once in a while, when smartphones first came out, I would every once in a while, like once a year, I would look up like top mobile games, just because I always have a hard time getting into mobile gaming. Like I just, for some reason, don't find a lot of enjoyment in it. But I came across this one game, and it was a puzzle game, but it encapsulated like 5 or 6 different puzzle game types, one of which was a block pushing puzzle game. And as I played through the game, it forces you to sort of play all of the puzzle game types, but every time it would come across a puzzle, like a block pushing puzzler, I just fell more and more sort of in love with that type. So I thought, why can't I just play this as a whole game? Like, I want a whole game of just block pushing puzzles. Like, it's just fun. There's something about it that I was drawn to. So to start out, I took the 16 levels from that game and just made them, and I ported that to the NES, those 16 levels, just so I could play them in sequence without worrying about the other nonsense in that game. And that sort of sat for a few years. Every once in a while, I would show it off to someone, and they would think it's cool, and I would ask my friends, like, hey, do you think you could design some levels for a game like this? And everyone would be like, yeah, that sounds like fun, but no one ever would. So it sort of just lay dormant, because God knows I can't come up with anything myself. And finally, as the chat room presence on Nintendo Age grew, and I think
chat?
No, this was pre-Discord. It was, I think, Tiny Chat. Some guys were hanging out there. Mr. Wonderful, Corey, Keegan, Majesty ZX, I think his name is. But these guys were hanging out, and like randomly one night I posted the ROM of the 16 levels, and they got like really into it to where they were streaming it on camera and sort of figuring things out together, and they were like blazing through these levels, and they said, we need more. And I said, yeah, no kidding, I also need more. So working with them, they sort of inspired me to push through, and I don't know, together we sort of created this this cool game.
Wasn't that the chat room where the guy would come in and flash his penis?
Well, I mean, I hope that's every chat room I'm a part of.
Oh boy,
I'm beginning to suspect who that was.
No, that was definitely that chat room, and some images you just can't erase from your brain, unfortunately.
Cucumber.
So, Kev, I got one for you. You were talking about inspiration a little bit. You know, was the game inspired by any real-world experience, like a job in a warehouse? And how did the vision of your game change during the development process?
Well, you know, as we came up with the levels and put them in, there definitely wasn't any story aspect to the game early on, or even you know, as it neared completion. You know, the puzzles were all in there, but I was trying to think of a way to, I don't know, structure it to make it more interesting. Like, you can play puzzles all day long, like when you sit down to play Tetris or whatever, but like there's nothing other than the drive to get a higher score to really like pull you back. So I wanted to sort of try to formulate an interesting story, because my sort of favorite games all tend to have some sort of story, you know, something that you can latch onto, that as you play you figure out more details of the story, and it just, you know, becomes more and more clear as things go, you know, as time goes on, you know, mysteries or secrets or whatever. So I figured out the idea that I wanted to sort of group these levels into some sort of tangible number to where you can say that you've beaten chunks of them. So I don't remember exactly how I came up with the idea of floors, and it was probably after, you know, me and the beta testers, Corey and Keegan and Jim James and some of those other guys, we all sort of worked together on everything. You know, the puzzles, the story, I would bounce ideas off them, they would come up with ideas, and it was sort of like a collective group effort. But, you know, we came up with the story of, I don't know how much I want to give away. I guess everyone that's going to play it has probably played it by now.
No,
you know,
they haven't even heard of it yet.
I pitch to new people all the time.
Oh, well, you think they're going to come across this podcast?
Oh yeah.
There's a few that might.
Oh my, this thing's blowing up. You kidding me?
They're too busy buying Sneak and Peek and playing that. They haven't actually heard about your good games.
Right. Enough with E18. Let's get on the incident.
Yeah.
Damn.
Let's just throw every bad game I've done just out there in the open. Just go ahead. Just get it on.
We got Frogger, we got Unicorn, there's a bunch.
Okay, so I won't give away any like major plot details, but we came up with this idea to sort of, this whole thing sort of takes place in a basement of a warehouse. The game starts, you know, time has passed, somehow the humans have disappeared, you know, as far as we can tell, from the surface of the earth. This robot wakes up in the depths of this basement, and then the story starts of him sort of pushing his way floor after floor to try to get to the surface to do something. And you'll figure that out as the game sort of progresses. But yeah, we came up with the idea of grouping them into floors. Every 10 levels, we consider it a floor, and that's that. So you had no real world experiences in the warehouse, or? I guess I never answered your question. No, there's no real world experiences. No.
Damn, I really thought you had something there.
Sorry to disappoint. No, it's all fiction.
You did some time in the warehouse.
Why am I not surprised that you've based an entire game off of a game that you can't remember what the name of it is?
And that's the thing. Like, mobile games,
throwaway trash.
They're forgettable.
They are. Like, they make no lasting impression on me. Even the ones that were on the lists, you know, like best mobile games of the year, it's like, I'll play it for 5 minutes and it's like, like I could take it or leave it. But this specific puzzle type from this game, and I really wish that I had remembered the name so I could give them credit, because I don't like to, well, sometimes I do, but I don't often like to take credit for other people's work. But yeah, it was
Wait.
that
Okay.
part of the game was fun. So I wanted to take that and sort of push it further and elaborate on it. And I wanted to make a game that I myself would like to sit down and play. And I do find myself sitting down and playing the Incident, not often, but often at conventions. I will sit and play it all day long and never get tired. I have a blast.
So I got one more for you here. How did you decide on the difficulty of each level and the ordering process as a whole?
Well, as the levels were being created and put in the game, we would sort of test them, as a group as they were put in, and we sort of just as a group decided, like, this level's harder than this one, maybe we should put it here. But one thing I wanted to do is take a movie, for example. Like, when you're watching a movie,
Star Wars?
it's any movie.
Back to the Future?
We can do pick a damn movie, Beau.
That was Tim. That wasn't me. I'm not dealing
Oh,
with you.
Dream a little dream.
Oh,
I can't even tell. All right, let me talk.
Sorry, Kevin.
In a movie, it's usually structured, the beginning is sort of lighthearted, and as the movie progresses, it gets more tense, and then you have sort of a climax, and then the movie sort of tapers off, and, things are a little bit easier toward the end. And that's how I wanted to make the game. So yeah, the game, the way I tried to make it was, it starts out, I'm going to say easy, even though everyone complains that the first level is hard. But let's be honest, every single move in level 1, there's only one way you can push each block for it to not get stuck. It's easy.
But I still get it stuck.
That's what she said.
Right.
There it is.
So the game starts easy-ish, gets very hard up into the 60s and 70s and, 80s. And then into the 90s, it sort of gets easy-ish again, because I just wanted people to be able to sort of experience, I don't know, this sort of structure. And, people come to me and they say, why are the last 20 levels so easy? And it's just like, I don't know, that was just a conscious decision I made.
It's a victory lap.
Something, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Now, I have gotten a lot of flack, and I will agree that I should have probably done this differently. You get into the colorful robots really late in the game, and I probably should have introduced them sooner. But I don't know, it is sort of a victory lap. When you make it that far, at that point you're celebrating. Like, you've, at that point, beaten 100 levels. Like, let's reward ourselves with some icing on the cake here.
Oh, look at you. You can be original. Nothing new here, though. So, one of the issues with the Incident, and we'll get into some others in a second, but one of the many is you will find yourself, while playing it, accidentally pushing a lot of blocks that you didn't mean to. And this is because you opted for pixel-level movement versus metatile movement. Why'd you make that choice? I gotta know.
Well, as I was making it, and people will, people bring up the Sokoban thing all the time, oh, you're just copying Sokoban. Honest to God, I had never heard of Sokoban.
Don't take my talking points.
Before I started making this game. But after I started making it, and people said, oh, have you played this other game on the Famicom? There's some Sokoban games over there. And I've played them. Their movement is very metatile based. You move 8 or 16 pixels per button push, and it doesn't have that sort of fluid feel of actively controlling a character. And I found that I found great joy in being able to freely move the robot around. It just felt good to me. Now, as I was developing it, I did find instances where, like, you would accidentally tap a block and it would move, and you didn't want it to move. So people were saying, why don't you put in an undo so you can just go back a move? Well, I feel like when you beat a level, you need to beat it in one push. Like, you need one fluid progression from beginning to end, and then you've mastered that level and you can move on. But I tried to put in a little bit of a delay. Like, I put some sort of physics in the game to where you have to push into the block for a series of frames before it detects that it's supposed to be moving. Now, this still leads to people accidentally pushing blocks, not as often, but it was just a stylistic choice that I made, and I could have, I guess, put a longer delay, more weight on the blocks to try to alleviate that a little more, but I thought that it felt pretty good. It's just, something you have to contend with, I guess.
Cool. And where are the achievements in the game?
Like you're asking why there aren't achievements in the game?
Yeah, you're such an achievement whore.
Yeah,
Well-
many have asked where your achievements are.
Okay, I didn't know if you were getting on some like metaphor of my achievement of creating a game or something.
Oh,
but
you
actual
wish.
game achievements.
Well, I think it's a hell of an achievement to release this game. I'm a fan, so.
If I remember correctly, and it's been a few years, so I apologize that my memory is so poor. I wanted to put achievements in the game, and I had planned on it. But when I went to, and I believe I actually went so far as to like make a menu screen and like start to do it, but
Ooh.
these strange bugs arose that didn't make any sense to me.
Were they an MMI?
Maybe. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But rather than try to contend with trying to figure them out, I took the easy way out. I mean, at that point, the development on the game had been, overall from the beginning of the demo, years. But to push through completing what turned out to be the incident, I mean, it was probably 8 solid months of pretty intense coding and testing and bouncing ideas, beta testing. So I called it. I said the game's done. It doesn't really need achievements. I'd like to have them in, but I didn't want to go through the uphill battle of contending with more bugs. So
I agree.
I just took it out.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
It's funny you keep referencing these early demos that were floating around for years, but man, if you look on some of the old power packs at conventions and stuff, you'll surely find Robot 5, Robot 2, and this weird game that you're like, this has promise, and then you find out that years later he finished it.
It's weird how that folder somehow made its way onto everyone's power pack.
Yeah, it's somewhere in China too, I think, judging by their bootleg websites. But so with these narrative portions, did you make up the quotes? Are they real quotes? Like, how'd you give me the content of that as a sci-fi fan?
No, all the quotes are completely original. The names that I used in the game, the people speaking the quotes, are real people. They're friends of mine.
Oh, okay.
Super cool.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, do they know this?
Some of them don't.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of my friends locally.
He's like a Wild West copyright guy. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He shoots from the hip.
Oh, I mean, I don't foresee friends of mine getting upset that I used their name in a game.
I think that's really cool that he's using bringing the real world into the Nintendo.
Yeah, until the robots rise up and he's like, well, why'd you have me say that, man? Like, they keep hailing me as some sort of leader. But you were saying.
Yeah, so the quotes are original. As I developed the story with my testers, the character names from the game, Sam is from Natalie Portman's character in Garden State.
Oh.
Claire and who was the other one? Sorry.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Kate. Her name is Kate.
Claire
Wow.
and Kate are clearly from the hit TV show Lost, as is the name of the game, The Incident, which is from a very impactful episode when they find a bomb buried in the past.
Well, now I
and they
don't
have
need
to
to watch
deactivate it.
Lost.
No Twin
Oh,
Peaks
man.
references?
Yeah, no.
kidding
This
me?
game
Hold on.
was made prior to me discovering Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
The original or the re-release?
Both.
The original was out in
Wow.
89
So
and 90.
you're like a wow. I didn't. He talks about Twin Peaks with this awe and this reverence, as though it's held this place in his life for like 20 plus years. And now I just watched a couple years ago.
You haven't watched
Yeah.
Peaks, though.
He was bored one day.
See, Beau hasn't watched Twin Peaks.
I haven't.
No, man. Like I stumbled upon it on Netflix one day because when you look up these lists of best TV shows of all time or most influential TV shows of all time, Twin Peaks is always on there. And a lot of my favorite shows like The X-Files, Lost, all these creators always reference Twin Peaks as being this sort of perennial influential TV show that changed the scope of television. So I was always interested in checking it out. But yeah, I didn't fall in love with it until the past few years. But the quotes in the game, we came up with the story. And like I said, I'm not going to get into the details of the story, but I consider myself a decent writer. So I took the time to sort of put myself in the shoes of people that are alive both when the robots were created and sort of post-incident.
Is that the sequel?
And No, but I want to talk about, when we get into talking about the level editor, I want to tell you what my once grand idea was
We'll get there.
for a sequel.
That's definitely on the docket. So yeah, one other question, Kev. I'm a big fan of the transitions between levels. Was that your vision from the start, or was that implemented later in the development process?
The actual graphic style between levels?
And
or between floors?
Yeah, well,
between levels?
Between levels.
Okay, just the scrolling?
The scrolling and the celebratory song and the fact that, you just...
The explosions?
Well, not explosions,
Well,
but...
the blocks all explode.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's more of like it's a breather. It's that brief period of like, and now you're back into it. Did you plan that, or was that later in the dev process?
It wasn't from the beginning, but it was, I believe, pretty early on in the dev process, because when I was programming the game, I decided to, draw one level on the screen that you see, and then I wanted to sort of preload the next level on the name table or the screen, to the right, where if you were playing Mario and running, the next level would sort of like slowly scroll on screen. But the next level in the game is always preloaded, on the screen next to you. So I already had that done just as a programming trick I was doing. And I think I got, I've done that in a few games, on Larry, I sort of had a version of every screen you're on off screen. When a text box pops up, it overlays the other name table on screen. Anyway, I'm getting off track.
No, that's my new favorite trick, so I love it.
He's abusing it.
But I had the next level always on screen, so I just wanted to see kind of what it would be like to scroll the next level on screen as the previous level was beat, just so it looks like this massive floor, what it would later be called, was sort of all laid out on one, super wide screen.
Well, yeah, it does it. It totally translates like that.
Cool. The sort of robot turning and the blocks exploding and the jingle, I think all of that was influenced directly from Zai's music. Or when Zai did the transition music between levels, it had that sort of intense beat, dun 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 dun. It sounded so happy. I wanted to make the robot dance. So I sort of do this turn thing until he's facing downward. Depending on what direction he's facing when the level ends, he then turns a certain number of turns to face downward again. And then I just decided to make the blocks sort of explode on every downbeat, or every beat of the measure, for the jingle. So it just sort of, yeah, it's just sort of a fun thing that I decided to throw together. I think it's fun.
So things that are not so fun. What has been the hardest level based on the feedback that you've gotten?
I
know there was
84.
Oh, it was 84. Yes.
Oh, 84.
Yeah, I mean, people. That what is that one called? Is that the windmill?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah. It's hard for me to remember specific names, but
really?
there were a lot. Yeah, funny. There were a lot between 64 and 84, 86-ish that gave people a lot of problems.
You ain't kidding. That's a rough patch, let me tell you.
Yeah, once you start introducing 6 blocks to contend with,
yes,
it's a lot to manage.
Well, speaking of these level names, how did you come up with all these?
Do you want the truth?
I can't handle the truth.
The truth is out there. Didn't Mulder say that?
Oh man, now you're speaking my language.
Oh, have you watched Millennium?
I'm having a hard time. There's a lot of shows that I've tried.
Well, it had a crossover episode with the X-Files.
Okay, then no, I haven't.
Then you need to see it. I'll let you borrow it. It's another life changer.
But Mom, if you're listening, turn this episode off. That way that I name these levels is I smoked a lot of marijuana, and I looked at the screen when I was stoned out of my brain, and the first thing that came to my mind from the shapes of the levels then became the level. So a lot of them looked like faucets. So you have faucet, faucet 2, faucet 3.
Oh my! I did not expect that answer.
Really?
That's the answer.
Oh, I didn't give that away to you?
No, I thought there was more. I thought there was more fuckery in here.
I
No.
may have. Tim asked me some questions when we were coming up with these, and I knew the answers, but I didn't give them to him because I was hoping he'd ask you anyways.
Yeah.
And that'd be one of them.
I assumed that question was coming, and I did not know if I wanted to release that info, but,
Well,
who
that's,
cares?
That's the
It's
joy
out
of
there.
being the one who edits these things.
Well, you're among friends. You're
No,
safe.
yeah. This is a safe place. It's
Yeah,
internet.
you and the 500 people that are going to download this episode.
Yeah. What's with the Rob the Robot title screen? He doesn't look anything like Sam, Claire, or that other robot's name that you can't remember.
I already forgot his... Oh, Kate.
Her.
Um,
Kate.
yeah.
I guess, they're androgynous, but still.
As I've stated numerous times, I am not creative. So I think I just Google image searched robot or something, and a graphic that looked very similar to that popped up. And when I saw it, honest to God, Rob the Robot did not even enter my brain. Like, it doesn't look the same to me. And maybe that's because I never owned a Rob the Robot. But
was it
no
the
one...
Mars rover?
I'm not sure, but it looked box-ish, in head design, and that's how I envisioned Sam's head sort of looking. So I took it and, tweaked it a little bit, but I don't even think anyone mentioned that it looked like Rob until I tried putting the game on Steam, and some comment on the video was like, yeah, this game looks fun, but you better change Rob the Robot on the title screen. And I was like, wait, what? And then I realized, oh, maybe it can look a little similar.
So this is just like when you knocked off Sokoban and knocked off Donkey Kong Jr. and knocked off... You never seen Rob before?
I know that you're poking fun at me, but I'm telling the truth. Like, in all these
believe you are.
instances... Well, I don't think a lot of people do. But I don't know. It's just completely coincidental.
Oh, as one who shows up to conversations and has people say, I had this great idea, and I'm like, I had that idea this morning, and they're like, sure. I can understand your pain, sir.
Can we go back to something?
If it's that, no.
Is this another Back to the Future reference?
No.
Oh, okay.
You spoke of Steam. It's stuck in Greenlight.
Yeah.
We need to get it out of there. We need to get it onto Steam.
Well, Steam changed their method of getting games on there. Like, in the past, you would pay whatever amount of money to allow your game to try to get voted in,
right,
to get on the
via
on the
Greenlight, correct,
platform. Yeah, clearly that did not work for me because it got some upvotes, but a lot of people were like, "What is this garbage?" When people see pixel art, I know you don't have this problem because people love beat 'em ups, and Haunted Halloween series has done extraordinarily well.
Well, thank you.
But people weren't excited about my game showing up.
Well,
on
I
there,
think
and I don't blame them.
We need to get it on there. I'm serious.
Well, I lost motivation, man. Like, if people don't want the game to be on there, why go through the hassle of paying money to put it on a platform that 5 people are going to play?
You had such a great trailer, too, with that haunting, copyright infringing Gary Jules song. It was...
let's just take it. No, but I'm serious. I think the game is good enough to be on there. I think it will catch fire, and I wish you had more confidence in the PC movement of your game, personally.
Well, we'll talk.
Okay. I think it's good, and I think that puzzle games do have their place on Steam. You just got to find the right audience.
I appreciate you saying so.
Sure. Okay, so what was the most challenging part of programming the incident?
Probably the extraordinary amount of data entry.
Okay.
Every level... There were so many sort of variables for every level. You have, of course, all the block positions. You have the robot position. You have the home positions. And then you have the routes that if someone is using a solution point, that the robot must travel in order to solve each level. And you have to contain all that information for 120 levels. So just trying to find a way to structure all that data, because I used meta tiles. I haven't been big in meta tiles in the past, just because my games haven't been big enough to warrant any sort of compression. But just figuring out a way to fit all that stuff and do it in a way that was clean, neat, and organized.
Okay.
No demo. Not interested. Sokobone clone. Nothing new here. Only one song. What gives? And yet, love letters about playing games with one's ailing father. Other things where people have come together and watched and played this game. People have both loved and hated the incident. It's brought them together. It's divided them. How have you sort of handled the criticisms, and what are some of your thoughts on the various issues that have been raised about it?
Well, let me first speak on some of the positive things that you just said. I mean, who as a game developer can say that someone wrote and told you that your game that you made like brought families together, like that your 60-year-old father stayed up until 3 a.m. playing your game? Like, I don't know how often that happens, but I don't think it happens very often. So like receiving letters like that were mind-blowing. I mean, that means the world to me. So when you get criticisms like, oh, it's too hard, or oh, there's no demo to this game, I'm not going to buy it, or wow, you're charging $60 for a game that looks like it came out 30 years ago, like I can go buy Call of Duty 3, Like, it's like, okay, but my game changed this dude's life over here. He's playing games with his dad who's never played a game since 1984. Bring the criticism on, because I can take it, because, you're an idiot.
My favorite judgment upon criticisms.
And the guy that said there's only one song in the game, like, I'm sorry that you didn't make it past level 10 to find out that, oh, there's another song.
Hey, that was an official YouTube review. Like, how can you dispute that in any way?
But it wasn't a negative review.
No, but that was one of the main criticisms of it was, there's only one song, this game sucks. Okay.
Well, the fact that was one of the only criticisms, and it isn't even a valid criticism, that sort of wipes that one off the board. But the fact that we're still discussing that moron, 3 years later, or however long it's been, it did sting a little. Like, when people say things like that, both warranted and ridiculous, they do stick with you. So if you're out on the internet saying awful things to someone, I know that you're trying to be funny, or maybe you do have a valid concern, but like everything you say, it's gonna stick with who you're saying it to. So be nice, man.
Oh, I think you just invited a bunch of really harsh criticisms for no reason.
No, that's fine.
Not interested anyways. There's no demo.
and that's ironic, because this game stemmed from a demo.
So the majority of the time when you're playing this game, you're thinking. You're not actually using the controller to control the sprites. Is that something you planned, or did that just come about after you realized that this was a think piece more than an action puzzler?
Think piece, I like that.
I wouldn't say that was something I sought to capture. I mean, I think that's just sort of a byproduct of this style of game. When you make it to where once you make the level unsolvable, you have to start over. Like, there's no rewind or undo. You have to, unless you want to just like push shit around and restart it 100 times, like you have to stop and consider every move, because every move could be the final move. Until you're stuck.
Man,
so
existential.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not something that I sought to do, but I do like that is a byproduct of the game. And I have to say, watching multiple people in a group setting sort of collectively play the game, that's been one of the most fun things that I've experienced. Like, one guy has the controller, and then another guy in the back goes, oh, I know how to solve this. And the guy holding the controller's like, okay, tell me where to go. And then, he goes the directions the guy tells him to do, and he's like, oh, I guess that wasn't the answer.
Right.
And then everyone has a good chuckle, and you have to start over. But watching multiple people try to solve it together has been a lot of fun.
Awesome. I said this before, I find this game is best played at night, late at night during the fall or winter. With Homebrew having some games that players like to play at certain times of the year, have you ever gotten any feedback besides that on when your fans like to dig into it?
No, honestly, no one. I don't recall anyone ever saying that they preferred to play it at a certain time of day until you just brought it up.
So I've
heard
the Tim stands alone. Yes,
it's not an asshole. Like, that's when you describe the game's atmosphere, I mean, it does lend itself very easily to sort of a peaceful nighttime, quiet time. Like you're sitting, you're thinking, you're uninterrupted by any sort of external factors, outside, inside. Nighttime is a very good time to play it. So I totally see how you could say that.
Cool.
So Zai did the music for this game and several others that you've done. What was sort of the working process like that the two of you have achieved at this point?
So when we were discussing what I wanted musically for this game, atmosphere was a word I used over and over and over, and I didn't even know how you could do what I envisioned on the NES. Like, I wanted ambient atmospheric music. Like, how do you do that with 3 channels and a noise channel? I don't, hell if I know.
Well, he did it.
Well, and that's the thing. When he sent me the music, and he would send me, a couple songs at a time, it was jarring to me because what he sent was not what I envisioned. He used, and that's why he's a brilliant musician and I'm just some scumbag who steals ideas. Like, the music he sent to me, he used a lot of like robotic sort of computer-esque sounds that I would have never considered. And a lot of it at first listen is very unlike anything that you've ever heard before. But it's perfect. Like, the fact that he could see from this game and pulled those ideas from this gameplay, I don't even know what words to use other than brilliance. Like, it works. And people have, favorite floor music and sort of some that they might like less, but I think that every floor is very distinct, very unique, and very, very good. So it's my favorite music of any game that I've put out. So I can never thank him enough. Thank you, Thomas. Seriously.
We're on the topic of music. The game totally has a haunting start screen. It really lets you know you're in for a challenge, in my opinion. Did you ask for that song or a song like that, or is that something you heard from Zai and just knew, hey, this fits here?
No, that's all from his sort of vision. Like, as good as the game turned out, it wasn't anywhere close to that in my brain. Like, my beta testers, the musician, everyone took my idea and just expanded on it and pulled it to places and to levels that I would have never dreamed of. So he sent me that music with the sole intention of it being the title music. Like, put this on the title, put this on the boot up screen, put this in the transition quote screen. Like, he had a vision for all that. And when you look at it as sort of one giant collective piece, like it's just a massive vision that he had. And man, like, it's I don't want to call it like an art piece, but like, it has sort of art piece-esque vibes to it.
Yeah, you got to tip your cap to him. He really did a great job.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The LE's shipped with a bug, from what I hear. How'd that happen? How'd you feel? And sort of what'd you do to make it right for people?
The limited edition bug?
Yeah, the ones they paid the good money for. Okay.
So, the guy... I had an artist, Russ Quick, great artist from Vancouver area, I think.
Man, that's a name.
Yeah, Russ Quick. I thought it was like just a fake like screen name, but it wound up being his real name, which is crazy. I wish it was my name. He wanted nothing more than to play the game on like a modded DS or something. So I had to create a version of the game that didn't use flash saving because the emulator that he was using on that device just didn't support UNROM 512. So I commented out a lot of stuff, like all the flash saving, the loading, all the things that would crash if you try to use it in an emulator that doesn't support that stuff. And I emailed him the ROM so he could play it. Well, when I was preparing the game to flash onto all the cartridges for the limited edition, which was the first version that I was shipping out to people, I commented a lot of that stuff back in, but I forgot one crucial part to comment back in, and that is the data loading routine. Like, when you turn on the game it loads the data that was previously saved. So it was saving all the stuff, but when you turned on the game, it never reloaded the saved data. So that damn semicolon, it was hell. I emailed all of the people that paid outrageous amounts of money for this limited edition copy. Came with a shirt, came with all this fancy stuff, stickers.
Love that shirt.
Yeah, just like I went through all this like elaborate stuff to try to make this great package, and oh, by the way, it doesn't save. So in my desperation, I'm going to the aforementioned chat room, telling people what's going on. Hybrid was one of the frequenters of the chat room, and as you and I both know, Hybrid is most known for making Game Genie codes for homebrews. So he found out, I basically told him how I screwed it up. He found the memory address that was being bypassed and basically made a Game Genie code to make my commented out code work. So I sent emails to all the people saying, hey, I can send you a new copy of the game, absolutely at no cost to you, or you can keep the copy you have, use this Game Genie code. It might be even more rare. So most people, of course, said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Send me a damn copy that works. But a couple people took me up on the offer, and they have a very rare, buggy, limited edition copy of the incident.
I may or may not be one of those people.
Nice.
Yeah. So check your code, guys. Check your semicolons.
Oh, it's all part of the history.
So with the success of this game, I heard that you were approached by one of those Loot Crate companies, not Loot Crate, of course, about bundling the incident with a release. What happened with that whole process?
Well, I mean, that was like a whirlwind, man. I was contacted by a company called Man Crates, and
I told you it was something like Loot Crate.
Yeah, they sell these themed crates that they ship with this like crowbar. I mean, they're designed for men. Like, you get this freaking crate, you unbox it with a freaking crowbar, and there's like badass stuff inside. Well, one of their best crate bundles was this like retro gaming crate. It would come with this garbage of a gaming system, like some retro duo thing. And when they first started it, they would ship, any cheap retro games they could get off eBay, like, Silent Service or, whatever common games they could throw in there. I don't know.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's a terrible joke.
Well, I guess they were running out of whatever affordable supply they had of these, like, just garbage games. So they were looking for some other source to throw in. So they contacted Civac, the creator of Battle Kid, and they contacted me, which was humbling. I mean, there were some amazing homebrew games. Like, I mean, this was back before, the new sort of amazing flood of games started coming out, like Lizard and Haunted Halloween, Twin Dragons, all the new stuff that's just blowing all the stuff that I did out of the water back in the day.
Spookatron's never on his list.
I love for the Spookatron. I love that damn game.
Anyway, yeah, they wanted to see if they could include the incident in their crate, which was awesome. But the big problem was my game's not going to work on your crap clone system. So I asked them to send me one of the systems they used so I could test my game and sort of reprogram it to work on their system. So they sent me a system. I tweaked all my code to work on, a board that would be compatible with their system. It was kind of a pain in the ass, but I got it done. It worked flawlessly. I had to take out the scrolling between levels, which
that's how you
kind of
did that.
sucked.
You took it out. Okay.
Yeah, I took it out. I think I put in some fading routine or something. So I went through all that effort. Right as they were about to relaunch their brand new original games included with their retro gaming crate, Nintendo said, "Hey everyone, remember us? check out this new thing called the NES Classic. It's going to be awesome. And Mancrate said, oh shit, we can't really compete with that, so let's just scrap this whole thing. And I was like, hey, wait, we have a contract.
Yeah, really?
We signed a contract. Like, you were going to pay me a lot of money to do this. What gives? So they still paid me some, just to make it worth my while, and it was nice to even sort of be included with the whole process. But the thing was scrapped, never to be seen again.
That's a shame it didn't come out.
Oh, it really is. I mean, that could have opened up what we do.
And the NES Classic at that point was so hard to get, it didn't matter.
It wasn't even out yet at that point.
Yeah.
Dum-dums.
I don't think that it would have even competed in the same market. Like,
right.
the people going after the NES Classic wanted a box system with, like, built-in games. Like, this new retro-themed crate, like, you could go buy other NES games to play in it. Like, it would have been a different market, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think they were worried that Nintendo, and you and I, especially these days, see Nintendo is going after these ROM sites. They're just going after their copyright. And I think that Mancrates was a little concerned that perhaps some unwanted attention would be brought to them.
Expired patents and pirating IPs are two very, very different things.
Again, you're preaching to the choir, but
humans.
I think they were just trying to play it safe.
You're the choir?
I think that's
Someone's
what
a
he
choir.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he is.
It's not you and I.
No.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. So, the incident is a major achievement in your catalog. I mean, you've done a lot of games over the years, but the two for me that always stand out are Study Hall and The Incident, which are two of your most original, creative, from the ground up, non-port games, because I just keep throwing adjectives and nouns at you. But in this process, sort of what did you kind of learn when making The Incident about programming, yourself, artificial intelligence, the world even?
I think what I learned most personally is that perhaps, well, maybe a couple things. Perhaps I have more creativity inside of me than I might think.
You do.
At first thought. And secondly, that it gave me a taste of what it would be like to work with a collective group of like-minded people. And that brought things, like I said, to like a place that I didn't even consider to begin with. I mean, it just made it better and better. So it made me start considering that, like, maybe working on things as a group, I don't know, like maybe it's the way to go in the future.
Maybe it's not so bad, eh?
Yeah.
Not so bad.
Hey. Yeah.
Hey.
There were Canadians involved with this project.
Couple.
Yeah.
So, last but not least, the most important question. Drum roll, please. Mr. Kevin Hanley, are there plans for a sequel or possibly a spin-off to The Incident?
Well, let me just ask you straight off the bat, like, what spin-off? Do you have ideas for a spin-off?
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
Oh, well, first of all, let me answer your question, 'cause I'm intrigued. When I released The Incident, and I went through the great effort of putting in a level editor that people could create their own levels and export them and send them to other people, like, I just envisioned this flood of levels being bestowed upon the world and, most importantly, upon me. Because, like, I love playing this game. I love playing just levels, man. I wanted to play all these levels that I didn't come up with, or no one else that I knew came up with. And it released, and jack shit. Like, I think maybe, 4 levels were created. Like, out of all the hundreds of copies I sold, definitely less than 10 levels.
Wow, that's
were
disappointing.
Yes, to put it mildly. I was on suicide watch.
Jeez, hit select.
Well played.
Thank you.
But my idea for a sequel was to compile all these brilliant levels that were going to trickle in and call it The Incident 2. Oh man, I forgot what brilliant title I had.
Oh,
It was so good.
You had the floor. The entire homebrew arena is listening, and we were waiting to hear that name, and now it's crickets.
I think it was like
he played
The
it once, but
Incident-
he forgets what it was called.
Right.
I think it was like The Incident 2 user data or something, like some like technical name implying that it was created like by other people. But like when nothing came in, like that just scrapped the whole thing.
Well, then we need a call to action right now. Everybody listening.
I think this is the call to action.
This is the call to action. We need to create levels and get them to Hanley.
Kevin will pay you $50 a level. Send them
Whoa!
to a Gmail.
Whoa!
75? Is that what you want?
What, PayPal?
Yeah, PayPal. It's
Or the Western Union. What is that? When they transfer the money?
The scam one?
The scam one.
I think you did that from Walmart. Yeah, they got the big signs. Yeah. Kevin will pay you to make his levels. Just send him money. No, he'll send you money.
I will say this.
He can pay us in Steam keys.
For the incident. Yes,
For the
very
incident.
good.
There you
Okay.
go.
If somehow this call to action makes people magically want to create levels and send them in,
I get the
and
money.
it got to a point where a game is released, yeah, I will split money with all the level submitters all day long.
Ooh.
That makes me want to go create levels.
Hey,
Amen.
Let's do this. Hey,
Let's
I'll
do
go
this. I'm
create
serious.
some
We
levels
need to do
too,
this.
man.
Community, we got to do this.
It's
Wouldn't it be badass?
It would
Like
be great. It would be
a
such a good
community
effort.
generated. I mean, I guess Spookatron, which I never mention, did something very similar. So
I
yet
hear.
again, I'm stealing someone's idea. But
Wait,
Yeah,
didn't
that
you
would
have
be
the level
awesome.
editor first?
you know, I don't want to take
You
credit.
did.
But
Yeah.
yes.
So you're not stealing.
Kevin
So, yeah.
always accuses me of stealing all the ideas.
Oh.
That's like the pot calling the kettle black, man.
I know, that's why I give you so much crap, is usually it's when I'm guilty of something.
Right.
Well, to review, call to action, everybody out there, we got to make some levels, get them to Hanley. Let's get this sequel moving.
Oh, we do have to ask him the questions that I hate to answer and that I hate that he asks, but we got to put him in the hot seat real quick.
Who,
Let's
Hanley?
do it.
Kevin. Who's your favorite homebrewer?
Rob L. Bryant.
Oh.
What's it? Why?
Why? Do I ever ask why?
I think you do.
I
trying to be you.
think that. I mean, I think I've said it before. Like, I feel that he thinks the most outside the box of any homebrewer in the scene. Like, 90% of the games that come out are comparable to, you know, other licensed games or other games that have come out on modern platforms. And I feel that Rob, you know, when you look at a game like Rise of Amandus, I've never seen a game like that. And who the hell could come up with something like that? I don't know. Like, I just feel that he is brilliant in ways that other people maybe fall short.
What's your favorite homebrew?
The Mad Wizard.
What's your favorite potato chip flavor?
Ketchup.
Ew.
What's your favorite
Yeah, that's
soda?
a joke. I don't drink soda, but my favorite potato chip flavor is salt and vinegar.
favorite dog?
Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. Are you talking about breed or actual dog?
Actual dog. It's probably in your house
Oh.
right now.
That is Bean, for sure.
Okay. And with
He's
that,
licking himself.
thank you.
Wait. Favorite color of hair?
Oh, he's getting mean now.
No.
I'm talking to a man who has a full head of hair here, and he's got two of us here. Just a jerk. Can't take him anywhere.
A dark pixie cut.
Ooh.
For yourself?
No, he didn't say for
He's
me.
talking about a woman.
Gotcha.
I think.
I mean, I've seen...
Any hair for me would be my favorite color of hair.
Have you seen the pictures of when Kevin had hair?
You mean like when he was playing the guitar?
No, like in the dollar bill rap.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
as seen on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube that right now. He'll go from
Nice.
2,000 listens to like 2,100.
The what is the video called?
I don't-
The infamous $1 rap.
$1 rap where you well, we can't even talk about what you did because it's probably not politically correct anymore these days.
That dude's dead for sure.
Yeah, but it's the thought, the notion. But anyways, he has long hair in the video.
Yeah.
Which is just strange to me. Well, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you coming on to the what are we calling this? The Retro Goose podcast?
The Retro Goose. That's what I've been calling it all week.
Tim's favorite little thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Is that a spin-off podcast?
No, it's
No, it's a lurking idea.
what was the other one?
I still want to talk about your incident spin-off ideas, but I guess we'll do that off the air.
Yeah, well, I just imagine Sam gets out of the warehouse.
Ooh,
Hey,
what's he pushing?
For Tim, it always turns into a platformer at this point, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. There's nothing wrong with a good platformer, bro.
Nobody said there was.
Some people like to play.
I know where this is going.
It's going nowhere. What else did you want to add? Nothing
I was
else
just going to tell him we'll have to have him on again sometime.
Oh, yeah. He makes a lot of games.
Yeah. I mean, you've made more games than
Not anymore.
Almost anyone.
I'm retired.
Or are you working on anything currently you want to tell us about?
No.
That's our next segment.
Oh,
so
boy,
yeah.
my bad.
So with all this great music that Zai did and that, just wowed your socks off, is there any particular song that you'd sort of want to kind of showcase? Mortal
Kombat? Know what that is. Oh. Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
That's what I heard in the first 10 notes.
They're all good. So just pick a floor, man.
Which
Any
one?
Floor.
Do you have a preference?
I don't know the names, but I would play the song that's playing in level 68, the Eel.
There we go. It's probably the one from 60 to 70. So
yes,
we will listen to track number, I'm not quite sure, but that one. So yeah, that was Kevin. We'll talk to him again in a bit, I guess. But we are still here. And kind of regarding the art, sort of what'd you like, what did you not like about it?
Well, I like the overall vibe. I like the color choice. I like the black backgrounds. Well, at least early on in the game. And then you get to some more colorful backgrounds later, way later on in the game, which is cool. There's not a whole lot, honestly, I dislike. I don't even know if there's anything I dislike. Some people I've heard dislike the challenges, that they're a little too hard early on. But to me, we're talking about art.
I think probably the only criticism you might get is that there's not a lot of different tiles. Usually there's just one border tile, one home tile, one block tile. Like there's not a lot of variety. But with this type of game, you don't necessarily want a lot of variety. You don't want to lose yourself in these overly, golly, help me on the word here.
Challenging? You don't want the art to take away from the process of the solving of the puzzles.
These flowery backgrounds where you can't see the puzzle through the trees, I suppose. That's just my thought. I thought the art was great. I love the heavy black saturation style, much like the early NES games, and yet this plays and has technical features. It's very much like a late one, so it's I liked it.
I got no problems with the art. Music, I absolutely have no problems with the music.
Yeah, I guess we weren't just tooting his own horn, was it?
No.
He didn't do the music.
It's hard to criticize this game because, like I said, it's probably my favorite homebrew game ever. It's one that I pitch at shows and conventions. Hopefully I've generated some sales for them. But, the music, Zai just knocked it out of the park. He didn't miss. In my opinion, he didn't... I don't know, do you have a problem with any of the music?
The only issue is when you're playing a level, you hit a block of levels and some of them take 20 minutes back to back and you don't find that sort of groove where you just clear a bunch all at once. It can get a little repetitive, but at the same time, you do have the option at any time to turn off the background music, so you really can't complain about that. I mean, if you're taking an hour to solve a puzzle, that's kind of on you at a certain point. You can just turn off the music.
Right, that's a good point.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to criticize when they give you the choice.
Excellent point. Do you got any memorable levels or level names?
Oh man, every single one of them, and I've known how Kevin named them for a long time, so they kind of have taken on extra significance as I sit there and look at them like, oh, that's how he came up with this. Okay, I can see that. Cracked Corner is always nice. Is that the first one? I think.
I think so.
Yeah. That one always gets me because you're looking at it, you're like, Cracked Corner. It's kind of a strange name, and they just get stranger.
Yeah, I like the strange names. I like that they're all different. They're not. Now that I know where they came from, it all makes sense.
Kind of does, doesn't it?
That there's some cohesiveness with like the faucets.
I don't remember the faucets. There's another series of levels that's like 1, 2, and 3, but I cannot remember the name.
Well, there's 120 levels, so
There are.
remembering the names, it's gonna be a little tough.
Do you think Kevin can remember the names?
Hell no.
I'm so mean. What about you? Any specific levels that kind of...
No, I guess the EO68
You were
just
stuck
plagued
on
me.
that
I mean,
eel.
it plagued me for days. Days.
Man.
It's the kind of game that I can play for a little while, then take a break and come back to it because of the save states, the flash saves.
If they work in your copy.
Oh, they work in mine.
They don't work in
See,
mine.
I'm not lucky enough to have that LE.
No, I think more people actually kept the unchanged one than actually sent them back to him. But that's my speculation. So the fun factor, do you like it? Well, obviously you like it. Do you find it to be replayable, though?
I do. When I go back and play some of the earlier levels, I like to challenge myself, and it's not so much that I want to do it. I want to do it in less pushes.
Oh,
Pushes.
look at you.
And I want to clear it faster, and I want to be more precise with my decision making. So yes, I believe there is replayability. Do you?
I find the replayability just being the fact that if you put it down for a year or so, you don't remember most of the puzzles. They don't stick in your way the way that a simplistic, Chip and Dale or Mega Man puzzle kind of fits in your brain.
Right. It
But
doesn't have those visual cues that are unique, with a lot of the assets being the same in the puzzles.
Yeah.
Blends together, which is kind of cool because then you could play the game again for the second time, almost fresh.
Yeah, and as far as homebrews go, it's one of the more replayable games out there just because of that, because of the length, because of the challenge, all of that. You can't keep it all in your head at any given time. And group play is another part where it becomes real replayable, like Kevin was talking about. You sit it down in front of a group of people, and everybody's a cook in the kitchen,
Right.
and it's just a lot of fun.
Right. So the release formats and how many releases of this have we seen?
Well, there was the demo. No, there was no demo. Not interested. There was the LE, which came very first, and that has in a clear shell, used retro USB boards, and had this great looking circuit board sticker. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but man, it is like, if I could frame a poster of a label art on my wall, that would be it. This some of the neatest stuff, which I believe Kevin did. It also came in a big box, the classic K-Han big box style, like he did for, there's the Incident. I have some of the ones that were after the fact. There was like a retroactive sneak and peek one. Scramble came in one. It's a box with a sleeve that goes over it. It's just very nice, and they look real nice all next to each other. And then it also came with a big like plush block that I believe were made by Benny Hanna's wife, Melissa, who was the 8-bit Xmas 2011 pinup girl.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So Miss 2011 has made your plush blocks, and there was also a bigger block for the beta testers and stuff. Like it was twice the size, 4 times the size. Very neat. Hard to find that one. Even I don't have that one yet. There was the regular edition, which when it was launched on the new redesigned K-Han Games website, you get a CD with it, which I believe has since been discontinued.
He needs to put that back out.
Yeah,
that music's too good not to be out on CD.
And when you commit to doing these runs and stuff, like that's investment.
Are you saying?
It gets hard.
All right.
But yeah, there's CIB, card only. Those ones use the GT-ROM board with the charcoal black shell.
And people can get those on his website currently.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're still for sale. This sexy gold box with this manual with narrative, haunting kind of cover art.
Oh, yeah, the box is beautiful. Manual's beautiful.
And there's been like a few show demos, things like that. I think the first year he had it in Portland, I threw it into a blue shell for him. gave him a blue shell, and he threw it in there, and that was sort of on the thing. So there's a few little one-offs here and there, but then the 2017 Scare Cart, last year's Scare Cart, Kevbot got him to allow him to use the incident. I did the art, and Tim from Orab Games did the actual level design. That's a guy who can design some levels.
Right.
I mean, they just
shout out to Timmy right there.
Ooh, they come naturally to him. But yeah, that was sort of, it's kind of like a version of it, but not really, like, because it was different enough. But it's still the same engine. It's still the same game under there.
The Scare Carts each year that Kev puts out, that Kev bought, they're spectacular.
Oh, I know you love those Scare Carts.
I'm a big fan of that series, and this 2017 was near and dear to my heart because it was the incident. And, you know, Timmy made some new levels. I got to toot my own horn. I got through it in one pass. But it's a great piece for the Nintendo Age community.
Man, between Tim's, Kevin's, Brian's, we need some new names in this place. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Hey. Yeah, we don't want no Gregs.
No Gregs.
No,
you
Gregs.
Can say that. He's not here. So yeah, overall, the Incident is one of the better games that's come out from the community over the years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's still out. We can still get it. It's affordable. It's worth every penny, in my opinion.
Actually, the price has come down from when it was initially
card
released.
only is like $40.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Yeah.
And you know, let's get it on Steam. And definitely this call to action. We got to get some people making some levels.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get that second Incident out, and you know, have something new to play. And hopefully, you know, we can get people create new levels and talk Kevin into actually producing it on cart, so we can have another version.
One will hope. Well, thank you for coming on, Tim.
Well, thanks for having me. I loved it.
Yeah, it's we'll get to more about you in a minute, but when you're not here.
Oh boy.
But yeah, this is Tim from Retrotainment. He's been integral to the Haunted Halloween series, Retrotainment Games, which they've been engaged with some re-releases of officially licensed stuff, and just doing a lot in the community. And yeah, it's great to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Over and out.
And so past successes aside, because, you know, the incident was way back in 2015, what else have you been working on, Kevin?
Oh, man. What I've been working on. Well, it's been a decently busy time in my life lately. Been looking for a house. Work's been a little busy. In a new relationship, so not spending as much time at home tinkering on the computer, but
Facebook status update?
Yeah, if I still had Facebook, for sure. But what little time I have, I don't know, like, thinking of working on Nintendo stuff, it just seems so intense. Like, you really have to sit down and, like, get your mind right. I do, anyway. So it's been a little bit intimidating for me to think about sitting down and coding for the NES. So, I've had this sort of interest reemerge. I guess not a lot of people know that before my love of, well, I guess it was about the same time. Like around the same time I was getting into NES, I was really into classic computer games. So lately I've had this sort of resurgence in interest in sort of playing some of the old PC DOS games that I grew up with. So I've started sort of exploring the thought of maybe learning to code old DOS stuff.
Ooh.
But it's not, I know that wouldn't interest a lot of people, you know, listening,
Traitor.
so I don't want to get into too much detail there, and it's probably just going to be a passing interest like most other things. But yeah, like right now I'm just having a lot of fun with that. So NES-wise, jack squat is what I've been doing.
You know, in Beau speak, we call the playing of old games to get ideas research.
Ah, yes. I've been doing a whole lot of research.
See, you just gotta give it a spin, and then it's like, oh, I've been doing positive things with my time.
Yeah. Plus I've been playing Octopath Traveler, which has been a lot of fun. So yes, more research on multiple systems. But enough about my lack of activity. What have you been up to?
I am actually in a very strange, weird, probably once in a lifetime situation at the moment, which has just been kind of crazy for the last month and a half. Tim and Greg of Retrotainment invited me to come to Pittsburgh to help them put together the Mega Man X and Mega Man 2 re-release that is being done by I Am 8-Bit. And so it's a reproduction, which is, as we talked about in episode number 1, not a homebrew. But it's strange in that it's a licensed reproduction. It actually has like Capcom's blessing, and so I am building the games for my favorite company as a kid until I discovered Squaresoft because they're way better. And so it's really weird. I mean, I wish it was Mega Man 3 or Mega Man 5 because those are my personal favorites. But it's
Yeah.
kind of strange to be like hand assembling real as they can be in 2018 NES and Super NES games for an official company. It's mind blowing to me. I
Yeah,
can't
this
wrap
is
my head around it.
it's a company that legit made NES games back in the day, and they're legit at least commissioning a new NES game, and you're putting it together.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally the hands that are putting it together. It's the three of us like screwing together and testing and putting labels on all these games that are coming out, which to me
How many
is
do you have to make?
like 17,000.
Oh, that's it.
You know, I'm used to doing runs of like 100 in a week, and suddenly we're just like, this is all I do right now, and it's awesome, and it's really neat being around a couple guys that live and breathe homebrew 24/7. Like it's the synergy and the amount of ideas that are bounced off. Like, what if we did this or what if we did that? Like, I have no clue what could come of all this, and so it's very exciting. It's
But you're
also
living like what little time we would have at an expo when we get together with other developers, and like that euphoria of like being around people that are into this stuff. You're getting to live that for months.
oh yeah, and we eat a lot of fast food, which is great. It's like being on the road. Tim and I went through a closed out Bonton and found a bunch of old like CRTs and like just crazy stuff. Ooh, including
Wow.
a Texas Instruments monitor. Every day is a little adventure. I'm living in Tim's basement right now. This is the first podcast where Kevin and I have ever been in the same room as somebody else to do an interview. And we're sitting in literally a Long John Silver's booth in Tim's basement having this conversation. Like,
Were you sitting beside each other?
no, we did not. We did not share a side. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
And we actually went to Long John Silver's earlier today. Strangely enough, and
Getting your fix.
Oh yeah, man, you have to. I got a whole like basket of crumbs. But anyways, so yeah, it's a weird time in life. It's also allowed me to do some extra book research for the homebrew history book that I'm working on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I actually got to go visit Derek from Gradual Games this past weekend because I kind of use this as an excuse to come down and see some Pennsylvaniaers. Do they have a name? Quakers? What is it?
Pennsylvaniaites.
Yeah.
Oh, Quakers. Is that just Pennsylvania, though?
No, that's a religion. Because they sit and quake, but it was founded, the Quaker dude. Anyways, Pennsylvaniaers, there are as many, if not more, homebrewers in Pennsylvania than there are in Indiana, which those are the two states that have the most.
Wow.
I, of course, come from Indiana, which is not a point of pride always, but sometimes they do a few things right. You can finally buy alcohol on Sundays. So yeah, I got to go visit Derek from Gradual Games last weekend. Him and his wife Lori, who does all the art for Gradual Games, and that was just a blast. Like I mean, I subjected them to like a 5 or 6 hour nonstop interview, which was awesome.
Holy cow.
I learned so much. Yeah, you think the podcast might go a little long sometimes. Get me in a room with you.
Yeah, I'm not being in that book. That's not.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's too long.
We'll see. I'll just stay the week. We'll be able to cover everything.
In my new house.
Your new house. But he, at the end of the night, which I'm not a night person. If you've ever seen me at a show or anywhere, I check out at about 9:30 in the evening, and I'm worthless. I mean, technically, work-wise, I'm worthless after about noon, but socially, I'm worthless after about 9 or 10. And we were up till, I think we made it till 1 in the end. But at some point, He was like, do you want to check out my new game? We played the music for it back in episode 3, maybe? And it's called Trophy.
Oh, yeah, Trophy.
Yeah, you know that one?
I do.
Yeah, and it is phenomenal. It is just, I mean, Nomalos was hard, and I don't know if it's good because it's too hard. I can't actually play it. And Aulia, I was one of the testers on that. it was great, and it was, sort of a Zelda-like. But Trophy, like, is beyond. It is great. I use that word way too many times, but it is great.
Wow.
I mean, it's so good, and Derek's so hard on himself. He's like, oh, it's it's just a Mega Man 4 clone, and oh, people aren't gonna like it because it's nothing new, not like Sokoban,
Right.
and it is so well done. Like his level of polish and his level of thought with the levels and the designs and Laurie's art and Derek's music. You would never confuse this with a licensed game. It is a licensed game. Like it's at the top of the catalog. I played through the entire thing in one sitting, which I cheated because I kept exploiting bugs in it to progress myself through the levels. But because I'm a cheater.
So it's not done.
No, it's very close to being done. It's within. Yeah, he's always skeptical. So he's like, 3 years. Then he's like 1 year. Then he's like, it's out today. And you just never know with him. But I foresee, based on the bug situation, and they're easy bugs to fix. I mean, he fixed one within 10 minutes. He said already because he at some point he broke out the notebook and was like, I need to start taking notes, I think. And I was like, oh, you do whatever you want. I'm just going to keep playing. And yeah, I don't know. So probably in the next year, I would say it'll probably be out within the next year. And if it's not Game of the Year 2019, that's only because we have found better things in the community. Like the level of craftsmanship with all of this is just to new heights.
Where does it rank compared to Lizard in your brain?
Ooh, you're going to go there.
Yeah, like I'm trying to put this in perspective for me right now.
Lizard's going to be tough to beat, probably always, because it's more the style of the game with that. It has nothing to do with polish, has nothing to do with graphics, has nothing to do with music, although I love all those categories in both games. But it's just that open exploration I like. Whereas Trophy is very level-based. It's very much like Mega Man, where, you got your 8 levels, you play through the level, you fight a boss. I didn't even talk about the bosses. These are hands down the biggest bosses in any NES game, period.
What?
Like, he literally has, like you get to the end of Mega Man and you fight the giant, like, yellow thing that shoots crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's huge, and you're like, oh, that's great. Or you get to the dragon and Little Samson, or some of these other things. But Derek has sat there and made not one boss, not the end boss to be giant, but every single boss is just huge. And it is amazing. I mean, they're creative. Laurie just sort of went to town with the designs. And I saw some of the sketchbooks. They're great. He, like, chicken scratches these, like, vague things, and then she turns them into these pieces of 8-bit art. It's just amazing.
Oh, man. Wow. So I'm legit excited for that. Like, I'm a little jealous that I didn't have time to talk to you about it before we were actually recording a podcast.
I know, it's sort of bad, but I've been saving it for you. I was so tired the other day. And Alia, the last game, Alia, almost got featured on the last episode. It was in the voting with Lizard, it tied, and then after the fact, after we sat down and played and went to go record, it got pushed ahead. So I don't know what to do with Derek now. Do we wait for Trophy? Do we just record an Alia one? We shall see, world.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk to him about.
Mm-hmm.
So has anything been going on in the community these days?
Oh, the community. I've heard some things.
Tell me some things.
Well, I just told you about Trophy.
Oh, well, tell me some other things.
So, there's this game. It's called Battle Kid. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have spoken the words once or twice.
It's like Mega Man Battle Kid. I think we've done this before.
Yeah.
But yeah, Civac has decided to re-release the first Battle Kid. It's got a new title called Battle Kid Dangerous Trap instead of Fortress Apparel, and it has Fortress Apparel. That sounds like clothing. Yeah. Fortress of Peril. You have to forgive me. I am a Hoosier. We cannot speak all the time. It's true. We have problems with short A's. But yeah, it's being re-released. And it's not being re-released through Retro USB. It's not even being re-released on the NES. It's being re-released on the Famicom.
But why does it have a new name?
It has a new name because it's a new game.
But it's a re-release.
Well, it is and it isn't. So it's a re-release, but he tweaked it. Like, he didn't just, like, flash it to Famicom boards and push it out. He took the time to, like, balance portions of the game that, you know, a lot of us felt were unfair. I mean, he wanted to remake I Want to Be the Guy. The rest of us wanted to play Mega Man 8 or 12 or whatever is not part of the canon for the NES. And he made too hard of a game. Like, a lot of us did not enjoy it. I mean, a lot of people did. A lot of people just ate it up. You know, every room's a puzzle and you got to be perfect and, you know, slit your wrists and all that, the select button. But for the rest of us normal people, it was too hard. And he fixed a lot of that in Battle Kid 2, which we'll get to on a different episode. But for Battle Kid 1, he has put back in some of that. Like, easy mode, you now have 7 hits before you. I think it was 7 hits before you're dead.
Yeah, something like that.
A lot more than 1 hit.
Right.
Even
so
2
it's
would be
now
okay.
possible. It's possibly playable now.
Yes, for the pods.
For us mere mortals.
Yes, mere mortals. It may be playable at this point. And he balanced some other sections that are not, you know, he had sections where you just like landed on spikes and stuff, and it doesn't matter how many hit points you have then because you die the first shot every time. So he balanced some of those out. And then he also redid some of the graphics throughout the game. Not quite sure why. We shall see what exactly those changes were, but I'm curious. Like, I want to give it another try. Perhaps we shall have another episode on Battle Kid one of these days.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
I hadn't pitched that to you until now, apparently.
No, we will discuss it because that's an interesting idea. Maybe we would change our long-standing opinions on Battle Kid. Wouldn't that be something?
That may be. And if you want to see that happen and you fear that Kevin may not make that happen, please write into the assembly line at gmail.com and tell him otherwise. Or tweet at him at A Ton of Glaciers. Or myself at Soulgoose. Any of the above will get you the results you want.
Do all of that. Brian, as you and I know, and maybe some of our listeners, Brian from Retro USB has been dropping some beta ROMs of his Christmas 2018 cartridge.
Yeah. So how would you describe, you know, each year's Christmas entry is very different than the last. How would you describe this year's?
If you've played the old computer game Ski Free, it's going to look a little similar to that, I think. You have sort of a mountainous area that you're skiing down. It's almost, I guess it is isometric, dodging snowmen and such. It's just a downhill skiing game.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch Brian when he gets into a project on the programming side, because you know it's going to be technically hard to do and that nobody else in the community could probably do it.
And he makes such quick progress. Like, when he finally finds time to program, because he's always like, oh, my kids, I got no time. But like, when he sits down to program, it's like, oh, I ripped this out in 40 minutes. Here's this super impressive thing that would have taken me, 2 months to do.
And you can find that on the development thread on Nintendo Age under Xmas 2018 : Dev on Drugs. So yes, after post-surgery, he has been on a lot of painkillers, and he is just hammering this out. Like, if I could just program normally the way he does on drugs, the world would be a happier place.
He's a lot of fun when he's on drugs, though, isn't he?
Oh, isn't he?
So what else has been going on?
HH86, sorry, for those not in the know, because I know Kevin hates acronyms. Haunted Halloween 86, which was done by Retrotainment, Tim and Greg, who we talked to Tim earlier, or he talked to us. That is coming out on Xbox on Friday, August 24th.
Xbox? Holy cow.
Yeah, this is a homebrew game being released on a real... I hate when I do that, but it's a real modern platform. Like, it's not this backwoods hobbyist. You need to be in the know. This is going to be released for the world.
Yeah. So NES Homebrew has done like Steam, but is this the first move to like a current modern platform?
Other than, I think, Coffee Crisis for the Genesis has been ported to the Xbox as well. This is kind of the first NES game that is
Wow.
reaching a modern audience, and it's gonna be
That's something.
yeah, it's gonna be exciting to watch. Like it could do great, it could fail, it could anything in between. But the fact that it's made it,
Yeah, like this might set a new a precedent. Like when the first game moved to PC, like, oh wait, you're telling the homebrewers like, oh, that's an option. Now
yeah,
people might be seeing like, oh, Xbox, we can put our games on. Wow, this is yeah, I'm really excited to see this.
yeah. And living and working with Tim, it has not been easy to get it there, but it's there. And like, despite all the hurdles, I mean, these guys just press through so much to do what they do, and it's finally there. Like it's happening. It almost happened once about a month ago, but then like there were some problems and some glitches, and it fell through. And like, panic hour. But it is all figured out and should be available to download pretty much whenever you hear this.
That is really exciting. Oh, did you see that Zapper Kickstarter that ended recently?
Oh, the one where you can play Duck Hunt on an HD TV?
Yes. How much would you spend to play Duck Hunt on an HD TV?
Well, if I had the funds, I would clearly spend $120,000.
Well, you nor anyone else, it seems, has the funds to do that because all 12 or whatever of the people that backed it, I mean, it's just there's not enough interest to make a machine that you can play not all the Zapper games, but just Duck Hunt. It just adapts your Zapper to play Duck Hunt.
Well, so what was the project? Describe it for me.
So it was basically, man, I'm gonna feel like a fool if I'm getting this wrong, but isn't it just an adapter that basically changes the timing or something that hooks up to your Nintendo to where the Zapper is detected on the LCD?
Okay, so you got a couple problems when using a Zapper on an HD TV. As any of you know that have tried to play Duck Hunt or whatnot on the Power Pack through the AVS with an HD TV, the Zapper was built around the CRT technology, like with the timing delays and stuff, which HD TVs do not have, and they're variable across the different HD TVs. So these folks, and it's a great idea, like it's super awesome that you'd be able to play these old games that can't be played because they're dependent on CRT technology. You'd be able to play them on a modern platform or television, but you have to do certain things to do that. So you have to modify your gun by installing a new PCB, and also modifying your Duck Hunt cartridge by putting like a pass-through adapter, sort of like the early NES games. Some of them came with a Famicom converter. It's basically like that, except it patches the hack, I think is what they're doing to that. And so you have these two things, and you have to pay $120 for them, and then you can play Duck Hunt for 10 minutes and put it back in the closet.
But you can play Duck Hunt.
You can play Duck Hunt on a CRT, and if the goal had been set lower at $10,000 or $20,000, it possibly would have gone. But $120,000 with $120 buy-in, like,
yeah, it's just not going to happen.
It was sad to see it not succeed, but it didn't succeed for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yep, and I think the general consensus was like, maybe if it worked with all the Zapper games, maybe they would consider that price point. But I mean, with just Duck Hunt, I don't know.
It's weird. I have some homebrew Zapper ideas that I would love to see happen, but I also know that the people who would buy such a game probably have a CRT sitting around that they already have hooked up and can play it on. Like, I don't know. It was weird. It's homebrew related, but it's also on the hardware side. But
it was a cool idea,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully something comes of it. Like they talked about how they had to pay for research and development and all this, but most homebrewers are in some level hobbyists, where we realize that the amount of effort we put in is not going to be reflective of what we end up making off of it.
Not at all.
Like, that's more the hobbyist mentality than whatever we may have talked about earlier.
Yeah, our research and development
Yeah.
is on our time.
Yeah, that's a hobby.
Yes.
But in other slightly sad news, it looks like Project Blue, which no, that didn't win the NES Dev competition. That came in second.
Oops.
Well, no, it came in first in my book, but
Right.
it came in second officially. Has been delayed a little bit. Franken Graphics and Toggle Switch have kind of announced that they don't want to launch the project until it is completely 100%, mostly kind of back to 95% done.
Oh man.
And they're projecting sort of an early 2019 release.
Well, this was the game from the competition, right? Did they expand it in some way?
Yeah. The competition only had one level. This has
okay.
4. Yeah, it's quite a bit bigger. Still sticking with a lot of like the limited constraints, but it'll be good to see. I'm never upset when a game is delayed. I figure it's delayed for good reason. And the good reason is that it's going to be a better game if we just wait. So
Yeah, and sometimes it's not a good reason. Like people are just lazy, but the people working on this game are truly like masters of their craft, and it is going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, so I'm actually more excited than depressed about it not quite being done. And yeah, between Nebs and Debs, Micromages, and a few other Kickstarters that are coming out pretty soon, like I could use the break financially. So yeah, push it back to January. You have my money then. It'll be good to see.
I'm excited because I played it a little bit, in an emulator on the computer when the competition games came out, but I'm excited to actually sit down and play the game on my system. I'm excited that it's getting a full release like this.
You'll be interested to know that there's a level editor and they would like you to create levels.
Not interested.
Oh. So, what are we going to close this episode out with? Do you want music from Nebs and Debs? Or do you want some music from Trophy?
Well, honestly, I can't say that they're not both great options, but you talked up Trophy so much.
Oh.
And it took me by such surprise.
All right.
I feel like I need to hear some of this.
Oh, man. We listened to an early track about a year ago now. Over a year. No, about a year ago now. And I don't know if he's changed anything throughout the game, but I don't even know if the song is still in there because, I was playing it and I don't listen to these episodes after they're released. But his music was so good. And his creative process was to listen to the best of Mega Man music and just to go with what he's inspired by. Do you know what a clavichord is?
A clavichord?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the type of piano used in like the 1500s.
Do you know a man who has one in his house?
No.
Oh, yes, you do.
Holy cow.
Derek from Gradual Games has like this amazing looking clavichord. I set something on it and I was like, should I be setting stuff on this? He's like, yeah, it's sturdy, it's fine. And I was just like, I feel like we should be hushed when speaking in its presence.
Oh, that's hilarious. Like,
yeah.
It seems like he's always very quick to like point out things that other people can do or that other people have, and he has this amazingly unique musical instrument in his house.
Yeah, and he can play it, which is even
Wow.
more shocking. Like, just the humility. It was wonderful to talk with him more, but yeah, the music for this game is just awesome. He would listen to Mega Man 5, then he would just go write whatever he was inspired by, and that is what we have in Trophy, which none of you can play, but I have played. Sorry.
You son of a...
I am
So what song?
such a dick.
What song are we going to hear?
We are going to hear track number 7.5, and thanks for listening.